we greet you. We send you our love from our apartment here in Bucharest, Romania. We have been basically quarantined the last month, as a lot of you are as well. And we were hopeful that we would be able to be in the United States this May and to visit you, but it doesn't look like we'll be able to come back this summer at all. We really don't know when we'll be able to come back. So we wanted to just give you a short update on what has been happening here in Romania. As many of you know, we've been with IFES, the International Fellowship of Evangelical Students, for the last 25 years, and IFES is in over 160 countries. And our desire in our IFES group here is to see students established in their faith, transformed by the gospel, impacting their universities, their workplaces, and their societies in the future. And we consider it a real honor and a privilege to have been here. And we just want to give you a short report on what God has been doing in the last few months.
The student movement in Romania is called OSCER, and one of its objectives is to help introduce students to Jesus, and wanted to highlight two of the ways that we are doing that. One is with our evangelistic ski camps, which take place every February during the term break in between the semesters. This year we had 5 camps across the country, and Chris and I were able to participate in 2 of those. The one for Bucharest, we had 50 students. Half were Christians and the other half were friends or other students that had heard about our camps. And during the week, the students get some ski lessons, and people that have never skied learn how to ski. We have interactions around scripture, studying and talking about Jesus. And all the students, when they sign up, they find out that there will be a Christian content, so it's not a surprise to them when we start talking about the Bible. And last, we like to see community built amongst all the students. And we see that sometimes students come back for 2 or 3 years in a row because they're drawn to the community and sometimes even drawn to learn more about Jesus. Mm-hmm. Another way we reach out to students is through mission weeks. And this is where we take a concentrated effort of time, 3 to 4 days, and go to a city, and we have a lunchtime meeting, an evening meeting, and in the in-between times we're passing out invitations for students to come to hear a talk about a certain theme from a Christian perspective. And we also have some interactive surveys that we call proxy stations that again are a way for us to get to know students, to talk a little bit about spiritual things with them, and then invite them to the meetings that we're having. As a follow-up to both of these, we use a 6-part study called Uncover in English, and we've translated 2 books from one from the Gospel of John and other from the Gospel of Luke, and we use these with students to follow up and help them to get to understand more about Jesus. And just this February, right after our camp ended here in Bucharest, I had a student who wrote to me on WhatsApp and said, I would really like to do that study in John. And so we started meeting together. Now we're meeting online and going through these 6 studies in the Gospel of John. And so we're getting to know one another better, and he's getting to know a little bit more about Jesus. And so that's exciting for the ways that God is using that.
Mm-hmm. And this whole past month, all of our ministry has really been turned to Zoom, Skype, the online platform, because of the coronavirus. We were actually in another city, CBU, right before we were quarantined in our apartments, and all of the students were sent back to their homes. And so when that happened, we quickly thought and prayed, God, what can we do? And so we began to have our meetings online, and the last 3 weeks we've had more evangelistic evening meetings, and we've seen how it's been really effective because students can enter without actually having to show their face. Sometimes students come just to listen, and we're really okay with that because we've seen that students during this time have a lot more questions, they have a lot more anxiety, fear, and they're wanting to know, how can we deal with this? And so our speakers have been addressing those topics. Our theme has been hope over fear. And so we've talked about anxiety, we've talked about hope, we've talked about suffering. And after these meetings, we can follow up with these students, again, through Zoom, and continue the conversation. And so we have been encouraged, even though at times it just seems a little bit hard to be stuck in our apartment. We're thankful for the relationships that have continued after the ski camp and after the mission week. So just one girl, Sabina, from one of our ski camps this year, she came to the camp from a advertisement on Facebook. She didn't know anyone. And from the first day to the last day, she was so enthusiastic. She's someone who had started to go to church on her own when she was a teenager. She never went with her parents. God put within her a desire to know Him. And so when she came to our camp, she was incredibly open. And on the last day, she said, "No, I don't want it to end. I love all you so much." And she has come every week online to our evangelistic events. And so if you would pray for Sabina, as well as other students, we have many Sabinas and many Dennises that we are working with, and we would really appreciate your prayers for them.
Another aspect of the ministry we're involved in is we oversee American staff that are working here in Central Europe, which is from Austria all the way over to Turkey, that are working with the IFES movements in these countries. And we supervise 8 staff in this area, and it's been a joy to come alongside of them, to hear about the different ways that ministries are evolving in the countries that they work in, to come alongside of them to encourage them, and just to see the ways that each of these ministries is working in a different cultural situation with different difficulties. I think of the Bosnian movement that's been around for many years, and we've had American staff there helping out for about 15 years or so, and still the movement is very small. This takes time for trust to be developed, for students to be open to reading the Bible together with you. And so we just pray with these staff for God's kingdom to continue to be built up in these countries.
We were hoping that we could be with you in person to thank you for your many years of prayer support and financial partnership, but please know how grateful we are for you as a church. You were part of getting us here many, many years ago, and we have felt your support through your prayers and your financial gifts, and we also want to bless you. May the Lord continue to make Himself known to you. May He make His face shine upon you as a church family, and may you be a blessing to those that either come to your church services online or one day again through the doors, but may you continue to be a blessing to those around you. And we do thank you.
Thank you very much.